Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the special City Council meeting of Tuesday, April 30th, 2019. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Albertson. Here. Bueller.
Here.
Danforth.
Here.
Lallam.
Here.
Manti. Here. Roby. Absent. Solom. Absent. Thorson. Absent. Vilhauer.
Here.
Y. Thank you.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is public comment, and this is the time reserved for anyone who would like to make a public comment. Looks like Councilman Vilhauer would like to make one.
Yes, I would, Mayor. Thank you. A couple different times we've had presentations here before us about concerning the emerald ash borer, and just want to point out that there is a forum Thursday evening at 7 o'clock at the Redland Arts Center, presented by a Dr. John Ball, who's an SDSU Extension Forester and Forest Health Specialist with the South Dakota Department of Agriculture, is going to be making a presentation about what's going on or what to expect or what to do. So anyway, just encouraging people, if they're interested, to come on out 7 o'clock Thursday at the Redland Arts Center.
Thank you, Glenn. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Councilman Lallam?
I would just say that we have citywide cleanup has started yesterday. It also happens to be like 60-mile-per-hour winds, so if you see stuff blowing around and it's not yours, please pick it up, put it to a pile. Let's see if we can get that back to where they're supposed to be, so we're not chasing it. No. And Beth says don't spread it out when you're going through it. So I would prefer they're not going through it, but that's another story.
The problem we have is that as they're rummaging through it, that's what they're doing, is they're taking things out and leaving a big pile that's not secured anymore because they've been rummaging through it. So people should really do the right thing and put everything back in the pile. So.
True. Thank you. Good reminders. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I'll move on. Item number 2 is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion from Manti and a second from Lallam? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Item 3 is application for a temporary location transfer and return of retail on-sale liquor license owned by Zeus, Inc., doing business as 2nd Street Station as follows. A, for the period of 3 o'clock p.m., May 4th, 2019, to 2 o'clock a.m., May 5th, 2019, from 15 2nd Street Southwest to 1910 West Kemp. I'll look for a motion, second for approval.
So moved.
A motion by Albertson, second by Lallam, and I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak about this? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and look for council action. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Part B is for the period after 2 o'clock a.m., May 5th, 2019, from 1910 West Kemp to 15 2nd Street Southwest. I'll look for motion, second for approval. Moved by Vilhauer, second by Lallam. And I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak about this issue? Please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and look for council action. Actually, discussion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Item number 4 is award of asphalt roofing bid to Elite Exteriors in the amount of $41,243.70. I'll look for a motion and second for approval. Moved by Manti, second by Bueller, and we'll ask Terry Kelly, Park Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor. We did open bids on there Thursday, April 11th, 2 o'clock. We did have to do 4 schedules because this was an insurance claim from the July 17 hailstorm. The paperwork process took a little longer to finalize, but these are the major asphalt roofs at the Park and Rec facilities. We broke them down into 4 schedules for the purpose of Kristen has to report back to the insurance company by facility, is why we had to do it in 4 schedules. But we did take a lump sum bid. And the winning contractor, Elite Exteriors, who has multiple experience with the city, they've done multiple jobs with us. Peter, if you can scroll down a little bit, I don't have the lump sum bid was $41,243.70, which was well within our claim amount. And I'll let Kristen kind of talk about, these are non-allocated dollars. Obviously, we didn't know what the HAL claim was come in, but we have been issued those funds, but I'll let Kristen kind of talk about how that process works.
When it comes to certain budget adjustments, there's certain ones that don't need like an actual ordinance to change the budget supplement. Grants don't need it. It's just kind of a one-time motion to accept because there's a revenue that offsets it. Insurance is the same way. So what you'll see is once we've kind of now started to do these repairs, once we have the expenditure side, I will bring forward an adjustment to the budget. Like I said, we do have the revenue offsetting it, but this will supplement the expenditures so that we don't go over those expenditures. So,
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Councilman Vilhar?
Not on this particular item, but Chris and I know we received some significant settlements. Are there any other areas that we are planning on repairing in the immediate future?
I believe that the Park and Rec had the most that were that the damage needed to be fixed. So I think the Park and Rec is pretty much the only fund that had damage that was, what do they call it, where it's functional.
It's functional versus aesthetic.
Yep.
And we are, Glenn, we have a number of our shelters, but those are tin. So we're fixing multiple roofs, but they will come in underneath the required bid dollar of $50,000. We anticipated this bid to be over 50, is why it actually went to bid. So we got a great price, but we will have price quoting that we will present to Kristen and actually the Park and Rec Board because it's under the bid amount. So procurement can be done through the board, but we are getting quotes on those little park shelters, things like that. And then we have a flat rubber roof at the zoo that will come in under the required bid amount. So this is the only one before the council because we did do the bid process on these.
Thank you. Councilman Lallam?
TK, are these steel roofs?
These are the only asphalt.
These are asphalt shingle?
Yep, these are the 4 major shingle ones. The rest of our shelters do currently have asphalt, but because of the HAL claim, we are actually going to go to tin on all our shelters. So we're going to transfer everything we've done new in the last 15 years. We went to tin. So some of the older ones, McKinley Park, things like that, we're going to turn to tin. And the city will actually pay a slightly, obviously higher price for tin. But the favorable amount of monies we receive for insurance, there are multiple projects we're not going to do because we feel they're simply aesthetic. You know, the example, the ice arena. Sure. You know, we obviously got a claim because of the tin, but functionally, there was no damage. So Chris and I had multiple conversations. We're comfortable, you know, replacing all these, but we are going to go to tin on those small little, you know, Northridge shelters, that kind of thing. So that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Anything else? Look for action then. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Item 5 is authorization for the mayor to sign an amended agreement with Crouch Recreation to purchase playground equipment at Premier Fields not to exceed $80,000. I'll look for a motion, second for approval. Moved by Lallam, second by Mantee, and Terry Kelly, you're sitting right there.
Again,
so-
thank you, Mayor. I was in front of the council in March. We had the same motion not to exceed $70,000. When we got the final design work, we were not completely happy with what we were getting for our dollars. We have reached out to different organizations. We now have a service organization that is willing to put an additional $10,000.
New text message from 60552000434.
So, but we did have a local organization, Service Club, come up with an additional $10,000. That's actually in the works of being finalized as far as agreements. But that gives us such more playground. So we're just asking to amend the original motion. Matt, would it be a amended motion or how would that play out?
Just as it says on the agenda,
Okay.
amended.
So if you scroll down, you can see our 3D rendering is what we would plan on putting out at the complex. The overhead there. If you just want to scroll down, Peter, there's what the additional would be the wood fiber. You can see that now we have the swing set involved. Just a much larger playground for the dollar. The $70,000 really was an inadequate, for the amount of people that'll be out there. So we're thankful for the extra $10,000 that will be donated to the city. We just need to do the official action, as the last motion was not to exceed 70. Now we're asking to spend up to 80. This is a Sourcewell purchasing agreement, so it doesn't go through the bid process. Consider it like a state bid. We've done it in the past. Certain companies are approved through governmental agencies to just purchase off basically a state bid.
But yeah, they did bid. It did go through the bidding
Right,
process.
they
Just
bid-
not our personal bidding process. We're
Correct.
piggybacking on someone else's bidding
Correct.
process.
We're piggybacking. Yeah, that's a big word for me.
No.
So, but yes, I mean, so they had to bid to this organization, which Watertown is a member of Sourcewell. So,
Excellent. Any questions, comments? Councilman Danforth?
Terry, are there any conditions coming from that $10,000 donation?
yes, a small signage, which falls in line with the premier sponsorship. I've looked into that. And because the agreement's not officially signed with the mayor, this service organization would just have a simple 4x8 sign at the location.
Are these funds coming to the city in full, or are they paid over a period of time?
In full, one single payment.
And what happens if the agreement were not to get signed?
Then we would revert back to the $70,000 purchase. And the difference, Councilman, is the swing set and the type of, this is engineered wood fiber versus standard wood chips. That's about a $4,000 purchase. With the engineered, they don't blow away, they don't dissolve, they don't, but we would go back to our standard.
Are they rubber?
No.
Okay.
They're wood, but
Right.
Are they coated in something, or what
Yeah,
makes
I
them
mean-
engineered?
I'd ask the engineers what makes them engineered. I have no idea. They're obviously man-made. They're not taking a tree and run them through a chipper like a lot of our wood chips that we actually use are. So, engineer.
I'm an engineer. I've
Heath-
never engineered a chip. How about you, Heath?
Heath?
A wood chip.
Yeah, it's EWF. It's engineered wood fiber. So, you're asking the wrong guy on that
Good.
question.
That's all right. I'll let you off the hook.
Thank you.
Any other comments, Councilman Lallam?
Can we say who the organization is?
I mean, I'm comfortable. Yeah, Optimus Club.
Okay.
So, and actually, Jay and I are splitting. Jay's at Hy-Vee right now at their meeting, getting the signed documents, and I'm here. So, but yeah, I'm comfortable. They're on board, and they're excited about it too. So,
Finance officer has a comment. I can see it.
Okay. I just want to kind of follow through with this motion to allow for this within the next couple of meetings. There's been a few items that the council has approved, kind of supplementing budgets. You'll see those budget supplements come through, and this would be one of them that's on there. So,
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
I have to say this, Terry.
I can only imagine.
Could you look into engineered sand for the golf course, sand traps, if you would?
We can look at engineered grass. We can look at
We
engineered
should do
sand.
something. This is really, I got to see this when this
I
is
was just
done.
saying, I played. Maybe we need to look at an engineered golf swing. I've played with you. I'm referring to myself, Mike. Obviously, you usually win. So,
Anything else? All right, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.
thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Is there any old business? Any new business? Councilwoman Manty?
I just wanted to get a timeline from somebody about when the harbor burnt out building is going to be completely filled in. With all the rain and water, we've had a lot of odor uptown or downtown from that, and clearly nobody is minding those plastic ribbons to not go in there, and we've had rubble pushed into the street, and so there's some businesses along there that are really close to it, and so I've been called several times wondering when that was going to take place. So I'd have that question. The other one, and you can answer that in a minute, I'll just get this down. Cinco de Mayo is being celebrated this Saturday downtown. It's by the new, it was the Multicultural Center now. It's going to be called the Glacial Lakes, or Glacial Lake Center for, I can't remember for sure. Glacial Lakes Multicultural Center, and it's going to be held on Kemp. They're going to block off the street from, the Goss to Gather, if that helps. And so outside, they're going to have carnival activities, food centered around Mexican-American traditions, and the celebratory event will be held outside, weather permits. If the weather does not allow for an outdoor celebration, it will move to the city auditorium. So I really want to encourage people to come out. I think that, anytime we can celebrate diversity, that we can celebrate organizations in our community that help improve the quality of life, not only for people here, but people coming. And so that was my new business.
Thank you.
And there's a band.
Yeah,
yes.
live music.
Yes, live music. I forgot all about that. And Bouncy House. So, that's also cool. Yes.
I think
Bouncy
there's
House.
several musical groups.
Yeah.
Mariachi band, and then I think there's,
Yep. It's really going to be a really nice event, and I've spoken with the people organizing it, and it's very well organized, and I really think that it's just really going to be fun, and I hope the weather is really, really nice, because it would be fun
great.
to have it out.
yeah,
It's good.
too. Thanks for bringing that up, Beth.
Yep.
As far as the pit goes, Matt, do you know what the date is? That I know that the deadline was extended for the removal of the debris, but do you remember exactly when?
Yes, the deadline was extended in a letter to them to May 15th because of the weather conditions prevented the removal by the previous date that we'd given them. So last I understood, it was May 15th. I know there's some other discussions that may or may not happen that may affect that date going forward, but I know that as of right now, it's May 15th.
And this is for the cleanup of the fire debris at Brewski's, the harbor bar. Big hole in the ground full of burned stuff.
And it really smells bad.
It does, yeah. So, Councilman Danforth?
What happens, whatever the date is, what happens if it's not completed by that date?
Well, I suppose that we could cite them for a violation of an ordinance of some sort, but I have not looked into that because it hasn't occurred yet.
Because anything that anything we have an agreement to that sets a timeline for something has to have a consequence for not. And I think that should be in every case, should be known what's going to happen if it's not. Otherwise, those dates are going to come and go, and we don't really know how to handle them. So I think that's important to know is whatever date is ultimately set for that or a number of other things, then we need to make sure that the consequence is defined at the time that deadline is set. So.
And I believe, Councilman Danforth, Madam Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
I believe that the statutes or ordinances also allow for, when mitigating a structure that is deemed unsafe, and which is what initiated this. The fire caused the structure to be deemed unsafe and needed to be demolished and mitigated. There is, I believe, our option to carry out any necessary work related to mitigating that safety hazard, and then assessing those costs back to the property owner as well. Not that we're gearing up to do that. I'm not suggesting that, but that is part of what the options in the statutes and the code allow us to do. And I believe the excavation, even though this is knocked down, is still deemed unsafe. The excavation and hauling out of that material, in my interpretation, that would be that's a measure we could take if needed. If absolutely no work were performed by the owners on that site.
Councilwoman?
I'm going to tie this comment in with Mike's in terms of the deadline. Just because of considering the location of that building and the fact that, May 15th, we're going to start getting into the nicer weather and the warmer weather and the sculpture walk and all those things downtown. And that was my other concern, was a safety issue for kids and things like that. And I didn't want that liability to fall back on the city in any way. So I think it's important that we demonstrate that we're doing what we need to do to make sure that happens. So.
All right, thank you. Councilman Bueller?
What are the requirements? Do they have to fill that cavity, that hole in once they remove all the debris? Is there a deadline for that as well, or is that the same deadline? Do they have to
Same
take care
deadline.
of it? Okay, thank you.
That's part of it. Anything else?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If I could give the council a brief update on our new business on construction project bids.
Sure.
As you recall from the last council meeting, our bid awards ran over budget to the tune of about 80 to 90,000. We've continued to bid out a few more projects here over this last week and a half, and we're up to the tune of about $150,000 over our budgets now at this point. What I'm planning to do is get together with the mayor and with Kristen to analyze these costs and bring some proposals forth to the council, hopefully at next week's meeting. We will be having some bid awards at next week's meeting, and so this is a discussion we're going to have on, and it's kind of a twofold effect or a twofold discussion. One on the overruns for the 2019 budget, but also in relation to the current street conditions that we have out there. We've got a number of what we would call emergency type repairs that are necessary on several of our streets, and we've been working with the street superintendent, Colin and I have had preliminary discussions with the mayor on adding additional work to our 2019 budget over and above these current overruns that we're seeing. So long story short, that's going to come down to dollars and what we may have available to throw at some additional road work, but I'd like to formally put a plan together, present that to council soon with the mayor's support and Kristen's support, and hopefully have a proposal back for you guys to consider in the near future.
All right, thank you, Heath. Councilman Villar?
Heath, are these overruns, and I've been hearing this, statewide as well, are they because the increase in oil prices primarily, is that what we're seeing, or there's something else driving this?
That is one of the components to it. In most of our bids we've done so far have had asphalt and oil components to them, and but oil prices are higher right now, higher than last year's. We're seeing higher costs for our asphalt and other materials as well. I think generally speaking, Colin's heard, and it's been suggested that bids overall have been coming in 10% higher or more, 10 to 15% higher than last year's. Not just for our local bids here, but just kind of region-wide, statewide. It's kind of the going trend here right now.
All right. Anyone else have anything? Any liaison member reports? We have no need to go into executive session, so therefore I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Vilhauer, second by Lallam. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries.